Welcome back to this mini-series about really old server hard disks. So we already went through that 15-year-old Fujitsu monster with 73 gigs. Yeah, parallel SCSI card link. And we continued last time with this Seagate Cheetah 15K4, which was, the generational step up to serial attached SCSI. And today we have a Cheetah 15K6. So 2 generations of Cheetahs into the future, and at least 3 years into the future. That one here is only 11 years old. So let's put these aside and have a look at that one. I mean, the first one right off the bat, it has the same capacity like the older Cheetah drive, so 164 gigabyte. But it needs less power. So the old one had 19.5 watts max, and this one only 17. Both are rotating at 15,000 RPM. And where did they shave off some power? At the electronics. This one needed 1.5 amps, the first generation of serial attached SCSI. This one is okay with just 1 amp at the 5-volt rail. Otherwise, it seems pretty, there are some minor differences from that side, but the real surprise comes on the back. Well, not surprise, but the real change. Smaller controller board. Yeah, you remember that controller board? 2 generations before of Cheetahs. Or 3? No, 0.4. Yeah, 2 generations before. So lots of chips took up the whole space here on the back. And that's very interesting to me. It was built in this way around. Here, the chips are facing inside, and I have no clue why they've done that. Because obviously, if the chips are out in the breeze, they can get off the heat. I mean, 5 watts, or back then it was 7.5 watts or so, that's burnt here. That's not nothing. So, they can dissipate, but if you put them that way around on the body, where should the heat go? Quite the contrary. I mean, the hard disk itself, consuming 12 watts, is still getting warm, and the aluminium body, hard disks get warm. The rotating ones. So I have no idea why. Anyway, let's get that thing apart, and we are still at Torx number 8, at least for that plate here. And I suspect there are again some screws under here. And I changed the the order of disassembly slightly. So let's get that thing up. Oh yeah, that one had only 1 screw at that place, and the shape of the metal is a little bit, the metal add-on here is a little bit different, but this has really 3 screws? Yeah. So, contrary to my thesis, more screws in the younger model. More cost. Yeah, well, you can't be always right. So let's take these. Oh, that was a spindle, obviously. Long one. Get my label back. And the other generation had also a screw here, so we try to lift off the label from this side too, if we can. That's a bit harder to do. And also, these holes have been double sealed. They weren't double sealed here on the older model. So more care went into that. I mean, back in the days, these Cheetahs, they were really, you know, top notch. The best you could buy. Okay, I leave that on for the moment. I mean, I could lift it off now, hopefully. Yeah, it would come off, but we leave it. And we take the board off first. So here's the first surprise, or the next surprise for me, which totally kills my argument that yeah, they were designed to be assembled easier and cheaper to make because we have to change to a number 7 Torx. At least I think these are number 7 Torx. Indeed they are. And they're quite different too, so long ones and short ones. So they've given up on saving cost on the screws, obviously. And this is giving me trouble. Doesn't work. I need something else here to get that screw out. Just a second. I still can't get the screw out, but yeah, I forgot another one here, which is coming off easy. And another one here. I'm sorry, but I fear I have to break that off. I'm sorry. This is not budging, and I tried a lot meanwhile. Okay, one last try with something big and hard, but sorry. Oh, it moves! Oh, perfect. Yeah, I was about to break the board. So yeah, nothing new here. Yeah, 3 connectors motor. This looks a wee bit different. Also, yeah, the number of contacts is a wee bit different here. Another connector style, but basically the same. And yeah, less chips. 1, 2, 3, 4 chips compared to the 6 chips before. Okay, we'll have a detailed look at that later. I don't expect to be any screws below that stuff here. This should all, I mean, I don't expect, I don't know. Yeah, let's fumble with that when we are actually in. So, yeah, we know already that few. The combined, yeah, mesh for catching any sputter and moisture absorbent thingy here. Want a close up of that mesh. Really Yeah, it's no longer meshy. It's, yeah, it's kind of a, yeah, filter cushion now. So yeah, the reason being, if we focus down again, that I think the capacity has doubled in this generation. I only see two platters here. Okay, can I get the magnet out? Again, danger to the fingers, but come on. Ah, almost. Yeah, a bit more plastic, but still the same construction. Let's see the head. Oh, this is a nicer color here. Oh, this is a very nice color. So does the head come out, or is it still screwed in? Okay, it seems I have to unscrew the head from this side here. So actually in that generation they made the mechanical construction, and I guess we're back to number 8 Torx. They made the construction a little bit more complicated. Yeah. Remember that other drive, it didn't have any screws here on the back. You could assemble it all from one side. Okay, I hope this is loose, and this should allow us to get out the head. Or not. I thought it was loose. Oh, this is actually tricky. Because you have to hold the axle from one side, and yeah, they must have robots for that in the factory. I cannot fathom that, yeah, at the volumes they're doing that, they're hand assembling these things. It was a connector to the controller board, which should be slightly, yeah, oh, with a real rubber gasket now. Nice. Nice, but yeah, only 2 heads instead of 4. And you see this assembly, 1, 2, 3. This assembly would support 3 heads, more platters. But it's an uneven number. Now I'm a little bit, no, it's the same number. Maximum 4 platters. 2 heads for each side. So, yeah, let's put that aside. This comes out. So, here's another real rubber piece. And that magnet is screwed in from the inside. Ooh. That strong magnet. So yeah, definitely mechanical construction is much more elaborate than that 15K.4 drive. Okay, but we're almost done. Let's get the platters out. So, 1 platter, 1 big spacer, come on, and a second platter. So we doubled the density. Or did we only double it? Because I remember these were, the old one was really 4 platters, 8 sides. And now I know what was so eerie about that head. This is only 3 heads. 3 heads here. Oh, can I get the focus again? 3 heads. So we do have 2 platters, but only 1, 2, 3 sides are actually used. And yeah, if you do the math, it makes sense, because that generation, the 15K6, it came in the capacities 146 gigabytes, 300 gigabytes, and 450 gigabytes. So yeah, per site you can store roughly 50 gigabytes. So for the biggest drive, the 450, you need how many platters? Yeah, you do the math. But yeah, and also I guess the smallest drive here, the 146, yeah, next size would be 300. So 1 more platter. Huh. Let me think about that. I'll come back to you. Yeah, but that's it. And the motor. Now, haha, now the motor is pressed in, I think, in this generation. Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a screw here, or there's only an axle. Nope. There's only an axle. So this time the motor is really pressed into the case and cannot be removed. I mean, it falls. I did it before, but yeah. And all this additional effort to double the data density. Obviously, it was worth it. And well, next, yeah, the Platter math, yeah, for the different models, and then we continue with the controller board, if I can still find it. Here it is. Yeah, the Platter math is a little bit of a conundrum. So our 73 gigabyte Fujitsu drive from 2004 had 2 platters, 4 heads. Okay, our 2005 Cheetah 15K4 stored 146 gigs on 4 platters with 8 heads. Yeah, you do the math. Yeah, double the surfaces, double the capacity, and yeah, that old Fujitsu drive was also available in 146 gigs. So aboutish 18.25 gigabytes per head or per platter surface. Huh. Now, our 2008 Cheetah with the 15K.6 stored 164 gigabytes with 3 heads on 2 platters. So yeah, in effect only 3 surfaces. And yeah, that leads us to a data density of 48.67 gigabytes per head or surface, compared to these older drives with only 18.25 gigabytes per head. So yeah, quite a jump. But the 15K.6 was also available in 300 gigabytes using 6 heads, 3 platters, and now comes the conundrum, 450 gigabytes with 4 platters, 8 heads. Yeah, something is not adding up here. And if you calculate the density of the largest model, you get 56.25 gigabytes per head or surface. Yeah, for the 300 gigabyte model, it's only 50 gigabyte per head. And for the 146 gigabyte model, it's only 48.67 gigabyte per head. Yeah, you see the problem. So basically, the data density doesn't really change in the different models, okay? They have all on the platters the same track and sector geometry. So basically, they could have made that 146 gigabyte drive a 168.75 gigabyte drive using that density. So I guess they simply don't use some of the outer or inner tracks in that drive. The same is true for the 300 gigabytes, which could have been a 337.5 gigabyte drives using all the tracks, but they just don't do it. And yeah, I guess they maxed out, or I'm assuming they maxed out on the 450 gigabyte drive here. Now, why do they do that? The 146 gigabyte downgrade, we have to call it that, on the smallest drive available is simply for backward compatibility. So if you have already Cheetahs in your RAID arrays with 146 gigabytes, okay, the 15K4 is no longer available. Now you have to replace some with a 15K6. You want to replace them in a RAID array with disks with exactly the same capacity. And the 300 and 450 gigabyte, I can only guess it's marketing. It was marketing. So newer generation of drives have that 300 gigabyte, 450 gigabyte. Then came, I think, 600 gigabyte down there, not in that generation, and 900 gigabyte. So they jumped to that times 150 factor, and it's really just marketing. Okay, let's have a look at the board. Yeah, just for orientation, we will have a look under the macro lens in a second. Here is the serial attached SCSI bus, and then we have this big chip, 2 smaller chips, and the third smaller chip, which I guess is a motor driver, but we will see that later on, or maybe that is a motor driver because the connections are here. Remember, that was mounted upside down. So this side goes to the aluminum body, and I discovered why they did that. Because if you look at this nice sheet that was in between there, you see there are 2 heat pads. So actually the aluminum body of the hard disk is still, even if it gets warm, cool enough to act as a heat sink for these 2 chips. And if you remember the integration of the whole thing, if I can find now one of the, there it is. The integration here in these chips is much, much higher. So that was the older Cheetah with these big chips, and now we have 6 of them, and now we have only 4 chips, and they are quite smaller. So they get hotter or don't have enough surface to get rid of the heat by their own. So yeah, they used actually the aluminum body of the hard disk to get the heat away from them. Okay, macro lens. So just for your orientation, here is our serial SCSI connector. I have no idea what that part is, and I can't find any information about that one here, but they somehow belong together. And okay, you will get sick now, but if I illuminate that a little bit here, you can maybe read the part number. Yeah, not really. Let me shine some light on it. That's an MBA something, MBA B V358. As I said, no idea, couldn't find any information about that one. Leave a comment if you have an idea. Yeah, above it we have the trademark Marvel chip, which does the serial attached SCSI stuff and probably a little bit more, like the controlling the whole thing. Yeah, right below it, that little thingy here, and I don't try to zoom in. I don't think it's worth it. We can try it. Yeah, I already looked at this. Yeah, maybe you can read it. That's an ST25P40VP 4 megabit flash, and now it's a serial flash. So yeah, you remember we had a serial flash on the old board, but it was not a serial, a parallel flash, which was a big chip. Now we have a serial flash, which is of course smaller, and we have the e-tron. Yeah, you remember also on the last thing we had also an e-tron. Yeah, you can read that number, but that's basically again our SD-RAM, but this time it's 4 megabit times 23, so basically 16 megabyte cache compared to 8 megabyte cache on the older drive. What's more? Yeah, here starts the hole for the motor cutout, and here we have the motor connectors, and actually next to it here, and it's upside down, I know, I didn't design that board, that Marvel chip here. Can we have, yeah, I think you can read it. I will spell it out for you. It's a Marvel 88C8801 NNR2, and that's again the analog, partly digital stuff for the head assembly, driving the head assembly. Moving on to the last big chip here. Yeah, that one here, we also know that from the last drive. That's a smooth or yeah, nowadays ST. Let me zoom out a little bit again. Yeah, that's the motor driver, and they actually, I will show that, moved. The motor driver is quite far away from the connectors of the motor. So yeah, enough zooming. Let's get out again. Oh, I forgot, sorry for the flickering. There's another MBAB chip here on that side on the board. So I think that's some glue logic or some op-amp stuff, whatever. So nothing special. Oh, yeah, and it also is accompanied by, yeah, that little guy here. Interesting. As I said, leave a comment. So we still have all the major chips here on the board, like in the last one, the motor driver, and yeah, they route that really over here all the way to the motor connectors. Yeah, the chip driving the head assembly, the serial attached SCSI chip, our SD-RAM buffer, and our flash chip. It shrunk. But what's missing, yeah, in this generation is that chip here, the LSI Logic ASIC, that mysterious, yeah, I control everything stuff. And I guess, yeah, there the SCSI interface was also LSI Logic. That this Marvel chip, and Marvel does a lot of hard disk controller chips, that Marvel chip now does it all. And that's that. 15-year-old, 14-year-old, 11-year-old server hard drives. And for now, this series will end because, yeah, I have to wait until I get my hands on something a little bit younger than this Cheetah 14K6. Yeah, I think there was even a Cheetah 15K7, and then basically, yeah, 3.5-inch server hard drives, 15,000 RPMs, came a little bit out of fashion and were mostly replaced by not quite solid state disks, but by 2.5-inch form factor server drives, which then ran, I think, only 10,000 RPM, but they were smaller, so yeah, we'll see. Until I upload another video or find another server hard disk. Bye.